So if you're watching this, you have probably played an open world game. They are a dime a dozen, especially in recent years, but not many are focused solely on sniping. Aaron Sampson, you recently played Sniper Ghost Warrior 3. The developers brought it into the office so you could try out a preview build. And I kind of wanted to pick your brain and see how they might actually be bringing like this hardcore sniper game into an open world, because 2 was not open world, correct?
Yeah, 2 was a linear level progression. 3 goes into open world. It seems to be taking a lot of influences from Far Cry 4 in my mind. And I think the team right now, their challenge is to sort of build a sniping identity within an open world game, because as you've mentioned, there's a lot of those lately. One of the things that they keep talking about in that regard is exfiltration. The idea that an open world is a better match for a sniping game, because the way that snipers work in real life is there's just a continuous thing. They got to get in there, they got to sneak up on their target, they got to take out their target, and then they have to get out safely. And in their mind, getting out safely is a new thing. It's interesting because when a dev starts talking about exfiltration in an open world game, it makes me a little bit skeptical, just because in an open world game, you naturally have to leave an area anyway.
Right.
So it's not exactly a feature. But then I tried to do a loud run. I took the suppressor off my sniper rifle and I just tried to shoot my way through. And I made the mistake of going into a tower and sniping from the high ground, and I died pretty quickly. What they said was one of their military consultants they had on the game was just sort of fun pointing out the fact that as a sniper, you don't want to cage yourself in the high ground because of that exact situation. So you don't necessarily want to go to the highest point to start shooting, because once you get noticed, you're going to have to escape.
Right. You have to get out, you have to plan your next move ahead, because this is all one continuous story, right?
Yeah, it's one continuous story that focuses on this guy named John North, and he's going back to modern-day Georgia to find his brother, who's been taken by some kind of separatist movement, maybe brainwashed. That's one of the central questions. It's not like one map, though. There's like 3 maps, so there is a story progression, and you can go back and forth, like Shadow of Mordor style, between the maps.
Is this more like early Metal Gear Solid games where if you are discovered, you're kind of screwed, or like you kind of are hinting at maybe you do have a fighting chance once you're discovered? I mean, do you have any other sidearms you can use, or just like, equipment that'll help you escape?
You do have a suppressed pistol, and you do have suppressed assault rifles. However, the suppressors are designed to break after a couple of rounds.
Right.
So the game clearly wants you to go loud just to escape. And it does have some of those elements from Far Cry, such as when you're escaping, there are outposts that you can run into if you haven't cleared earlier. That could get you in a lot of trouble. And also the bases can start firing mortar rounds if you really aggro it, so you can basically get bombed out of existence. So the game definitely pushes you into the stealth route. You have a drone to scout the area and figure out who to take out when. It's almost like a puzzle sniping game at times.
Right.
And then go loud only if you have to get out.
What does the actual sniping feel like from your demo? Does it feel good? Was it difficult like I imagine it would be if they're really going for like hardcore realism?
So the difficulty level I played on had a moderate level of realism, mostly dealing with range and windage. If you dial in the range wrong, then your windage is off and you have a good chance of missing your target. There's also some other things. They take into account how far away from your target are when it comes to sound. So you can actually use an unsuppressed sniper rifle if you're more than, I think the dev said, like 150 yards away. They might not hear the shot. And also the game takes into account real-time shadows. So there's different times of day. If you're hiding in shadows and making your shots, you might not get spotted, as opposed to just standing up in broad daylight. So yeah, the level of sniping, it's not hardcore. Like, I wish games like this would go a little bit more into way back when the Xbox One got introduced. They showed us the capability of the Xbox One controllers to figure out the sensitivity of how hard you're pulling the trigger. And also there's 4 rumble motors, and I kind of wish these hardcore sniping games would go a little bit more into you actually having to make the steady pull on the trigger, or the shot goes off and maybe every gun kicks a little differently, but we have yet to see that in a sniping game.
I do want to touch a little more on the overall structure and gameplay loop of the game. You mentioned there's a economy and crafting system. Is that so you're going to be doing missions and maybe taking out certain targets, and then is that feeding back into going to the safe houses and upgrading your weapons, or did you see much of that during the demo?
Yeah, they're collectibles throughout the world. They're mostly these question marks all over the map. And then as you go through the missions, you find crates. And there's a currency system and a crafting system. Because it's a persistent world, I'm assuming, I don't know 100%, but I'm assuming you could probably just run out of useful bullets at a certain point, so you have to always be going back to your base and making these bullets. They also said there are a couple of friendly towns, so I'm assuming there's a trading system at play there. So it sounds like you'll be doing activities to make sure your gear is proper and up to speed in between other missions in the game.
Cool. Thanks so much, Aaron. That is Sniper Ghost Warrior 3. That will release on April 4th, 2017 for PC, Xbox One, and PS4. We will be hearing more news in the coming months about the multiplayer aspects of the game, so for that, stay tuned to GameSpot.com.